I think this is a good deal. I'm looking forward to this discussion under the auspices as it is. I want to be open and honest. I guess I'd start out with what are the county's concerns for the military area. That's what this is about. We'd like to hear your concerns.
Okay, well, I mean, I think what I'm hoping to have a discussion about is the county court had sent an email now about a year and a half ago, proposing that we look at restructuring the IGA in order to really wrap it up so it's not hanging out there anymore. So what we had proposed at the time, and I think this was before Pat was on the court, so he'll have to say whether he still agrees with this approach or wants to go a different way, but the idea would be that we would settle on a portion to be paid back to the county of the $750,000, and the remainder would go toward a project that both parties agreed to, so that could be considered the county's contribution towards that. So the court was not specific on how much they wanted paid back or what the project would be. So I think we'd certainly be open to your ideas for how that should look. But I mean, my hope was that we could maybe discuss that and see if it's of interest to the court board. I think it would be good, given that the project, to my knowledge, you're not planning on restarting it and going through that process, and so wrapping that up so that it's not hanging out there for the county. I think we would prefer to have that wrapped up, and I think the public would like to see a resolution to it as well. So that's the summation, I think, for us. And I don't know if Pat has additional things to add. Like you said, this started, Commissioner Railroad was still on the court, so he may have some additional thoughts since then.
Yeah, my discussion, I think I've been along with the court, is I just like to see that the court retains those funds and uses for economic development. I've been talking to people on the court for about 5 or 6 years about that money being there and nothing happening with it. And I want to see with economic development projects in Gilliam County. And my pre-commissioner to commissioner status really hasn't changed. The dispute is to make everybody's represent the same voters. And what's the best thing for Gilliam County? And I see this resolved and we're getting on working together. And I have zero concerns about leaving that money in the court so they can put it to use to do something with it. And they're going to hang up over the years on whether they have to get back to the state, and that's over with. That's not an issue. And they were real hesitant about doing that. That was always the communications I got from them. But they've got some big projects out there that can't even come close to covering. If one of those ones, they're going to need a whole lot of help out of the county. And this is just a small part of them trying to get some infrastructure or whatever may be in certain situations. It's not a lot of money to start looking at some of the projects that got on the table. And the first thing we're doing, in my understanding, is use $200,000 for right away to purchase this building, which I think is a real good faith effort to come on forward and work with us and move into some projects that will help the county as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. We want to be positive and we want the money to go to help the entire county. All that, most of it will get spent down here, I'm sure, but we do want to agree on something that brings that money out and puts it into use and betters our community.
I might add to that a little bit. I did talk to Peter. I'm sure he hasn't talked to the commission, but I met with Captain Running the other day, and I think that one thing that I would ask is that they do find something in that end of the county that they can do some of that on. And they're suited to industrial stuff, but target something that they could help out there with that community's input on what they'd like to see. But I'd like to see some of it out too.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would support putting money toward the project. My concern is making sure that the county is kept informed about these projects that you have in the pipeline and that we have input on how it's actually spent. So, I mean, that's where I'm coming from, is that the idea is this is supposed to be a partnership. And so if the county is going to waive being repaid back, it seems at a minimum that we would at least know where the money is going to be spent prior to it being spent there. So that we have an opportunity to weigh in. That to me seems fair. We don't want to hamper what you guys are doing, but at the same time, I think we need to be, at least I need to be assured where it's going. Somebody asked me, how did the Willow Creek situation get resolved? I don't want to be able to say, well, the port's got the money and they're going to use it on some project, but I don't know what that project is. That doesn't work for me to be able to do that. And I think the public deserves as well to know where that money is being spent and what you're working on. I mean, it's in your best interest as well, I think, if you're bringing in industry for the public to be aware of what we're working on, to the extent that you can, obviously. But keeping the county informed, I think if this is a partnership, part of that partnership needs to include communication with us about what you're working on.
One thing that I've offered to do is attend all the board meetings. Keep a line of communication between the court and the court on what's going on, so that we're at least, not in the dark about anything. So that is, and they've agreed to, because I had a conflict with Central Public Health Department's meeting, and they're making an effort to move their meeting to fit me, so that is something I obviously do. Keep that on.
Yeah, and speaking to Les's concerns about the court meetings not being accessible by Zoom, I mean, your meeting space is very small. It doesn't accommodate very many people, and you're all sitting next to each other, but I don't feel comfortable with that. So if it's possible for, I know that last year when the pandemic first hit, you did do Zoom, and I don't know why that stopped, but that would be very helpful too, for more people to be able to. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't feel comfortable in a tight space these days, so that would be very, very helpful. And yeah, it does need to be a partnership. We need to work on this together and make sure the monies are going where we want them to.
I think a couple of things we might need to get you up to speed a little bit about Willow Creek and the importance of the Willow Creek Industrial Park and the port that's there. It's a real strategic interest to the county. There's rail access there with Union Pacific has 3-4 sidings there, and they can park probably 2 unit trains worth of rail cars on the side, and you'll see the bridge. It goes back over and goes towards Heppner. When they tore up the old Heppner spur, they kept about 1.5 to 2 miles of track in there. So we have rail car siding access through UP there. There's the interstate, has a full interchange there. And now that, the county, obviously, actually the county started the project and put the bridge in so they could cross this Class 1 railroad, the UP railroad. That was a real big hang-up when we got the property. The Army Corps of Engineers insisted that we had a flyover, or crossover bridge into that property. We could not just cross the tracks that had been accessed into there before. it would be a very hazardous situation for a class 1 railway like that. So the bridge was very important to opening that industrial park. So the port owns 56 acres along the river there. And then as we were building the industrial park out, we acquired another 9 acres to allow the bridge to go in. And right now, the county has stockpiled some of the chip material off that I-84 project, and I think it needs to. The grindings that'll be used on the roads up in the northern corner of the northeast corner of the county. So we have rail, we have interstate access, and what we still want to try to do, I think it's in a strategic long-term interest for the county to have barge access to it. And, you know, we did this run and it ran into a real snag with the tribes, you know, and the land use laws that go around that, the tribes had weighed in and we lost the permit. And we cleared that all up, pulled the pilings out, but it's still, I think, of strategic interest of the port and the court and the Gilliam County to see some kind of barge access to it. When you look at waste management, they can get rail cars in there, but they don't have any barge access to our landfill. And that was the original thinking, was to be able to unload barges. We still want to be able to load barges from the county. And one of the things that's in that Willow Creek area is there's a tremendous amount of basalt rock. And we can put it on a barge and land it in Portland metro area a lot cheaper than it can be trucked. And with the environmental laws on the east side or the west side of the state, you have a lot of erosion that happens with the heavy rains and stuff. And so a lot of the quarries over there are being shut down for one reason or another. And it makes us more attractive, and it's a real opportunity for us to be able to haul rock. And so the port spent a considerable amount of time looking. We even met with the tribes, and our friends went around to them and visited with them about what we wanted to do and tried to work with them. But it didn't work out at that time. We didn't push it hard. We didn't go through the formal permitting process, but we informally asked them if we could do this. But it's still in a county strategic interest to be able to have, be able to load barges out of that site. That's where the choke point is for all of the, up in this whole Pacific Northwest, all of the rail, all the water, all the interstate, that's where all the freight traffic goes. About 20% of our nation's freight passes right out here on the river between the rail and the barges and the interstate, and we can have a piece of it.
So over the past 14 years since this all kind of went haywire, what has been done to try to promote the barge and work with the tribes and?
Just what we said, we did that. Now on the site specifically, when we went and pulled the pilings out, we had 42 pilings and there were 6 pilings short of completing the barge dock project and stuff. And so it was halted. We had a big long fight with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we pulled the pilings. We've got it all out of the river now, but we did build a road down into the bottom of the quarry, so that quarry is a fully usable quarry now, and it's opened up. It's a good working quarry. And so we continue to do it, and we continue. I've had several prospects that were interested in the rail access side of it. They're interested in it because of the location and the immediate interstate access. So it's still another good industrial site for us, and it continues to need development. It needs power, sewer, and water over there. And, you know, whatever form that's gonna take shape, but in the long term, this is, you know, what'll happen 20 years from now. I mean, we need to be thinking that way as a county, as an organization, but we have had an interest in that. Predominantly so far, it's been because of the rail access, and we've made some runs. We had a really good deal set up if we could get barge access.
So are you bringing this up because the court is proposing that those funds that normally would have been paid back under the IGA be set aside to help develop that? Is that the proposal, or are you just giving us context or history?
I'm trying to do a little of both, because I thought there might have been a misconception that we've abandoned or are not interested in, you know, the port doesn't find it a strategic interest. We continue to look at Willow Creek as an asset, and it is a huge asset for our community. And, you know, doing what infrastructure was put in by the court, predominantly the bridge, it was not money wasted. It was well-needed improvement to be able to continue the development of that site. With or without the barge access, it's still very valuable asset.
So I'm not sure whether he answered your question or not. So when I became judge, it was January 2013 when I was sworn in. It was January or February 2014 when the legal aspects that the port was in Coogee Park actually battling the Corps of Engineers on this entire project. Basically, the Corps said, yeah, you can go ahead and do this. And then it got down to the point where we were doing it, and suddenly here come the tribe saying, no, we can't. I think you're all familiar with that. But so there was a legal proceedings that went on from about 2008 until 2014, of which at that time it was, okay, and we're going to give you some money back, which wasn't enough to cover the 1.8 million or 1.9 million Oregon grant, plus $1 million that the county had put into it, plus a few other things that were the waste management had put into it. So that opened up a whole other argument. Finally, they got to an agreement where the court said, yeah, we'll pay it back. Now we went into a battle on how much. And that, I don't think got settled until about 2000, the first part of 2017, I think, when they finally said, okay, here's what we're going to give you, that you can afford. And then the port had to use that money and point on pilings. And everything was involved with it. The first quote that come to the port at that time was like $450,000 to go ahead and pull all of it. Because what the amount was substantially less. The issue was okay, why isn't Oregon going to get paid that? Why isn't the county going to get paid that? Why isn't the port in the entire amount that we've invested into this? $3.2 million, I think it was. So there was congressional work that went on here also. Many conversations with Senator White and Senator Murphy and representatives involved. So the time frame, the legal aspect, then the battle on how much money, finally got to the point where it was like, for lack of a better way of saying it, threw our hands in the air. You guys are, I was in county court at the time, and it just was not going anyplace. We were tired of spinning our wheels and let's get the money in our hands.
I think my question was, Peter speaking to needing to go ahead and do something with that barge access, but if the tribe said no, how can you keep speaking to that if the tribes have already told him no?
Well, it's not going to change their mind.
Well, it's very similar to where you guys are. I mean, they changed their board also, and maybe there might be a different perspective of the people that are on.
But it's, the port, we've just been, we continue, we have little projects and, we treated those funds as for Willow Creek. And that's where it's been. And now that we're having this conversation, to use those funds on whether, it was for this building or some other project, I think the court board has never hesitated. It's always been for a project, that those monies would ever get spent on. It wasn't, for anything else.
I just think what we're saying, in case we're having miscommunication there, is that the county was a partner, a hand-in-hand partner, and we feel like, we still should be hand-in-hand partnering what happens to those funds. And that's what we're saying. And to be transparent.
I don't think transparency is an issue.
I guess that's how you want to document it. Right. What did you ask them when you want to document it?
I'm not going to speak, I'm going to speak, just simply myself as a commissioner on court. And the response that kind of back to you, Judge, number two, the Port of Arlington County mutually agreed amount upon percentage of the outstanding balance, what is that? I'm not really sure what that is. To be perfectly honest, the majority of the money was spent on the bridge. I think if you talk to anybody who's on the Port board right now and said, hey, would you get $1 million to build a bridge to have, and knowing what we know now, you probably never would have built the bridge. So that makes it a little bit difficult, and then trying to figure out a way what, how that will be paid back. We're all in agreement that we work together on a particular project. It's just some of the comments that were there, or not comments, but statements about paying it back and developing it now. It's just a little unfair for people.
I think we were basing it on the agreement that says basically that the port would be paying the county $750,000 off of the tonnage that was coming in. And so, I think that's the piece that we're looking to resolve. One of the questions I had that may be helpful, because I get this question from the public, and so it might be helpful to put it on the record, is that there's this perception that you all received a congressional earmark, and that money that you didn't spend pulling the pilings out is still sitting in your accounts. Is that an inaccurate? Did you spend the entire congressional earmark, is what I'm asking.
I've been one member of the board that have always said no when it comes to spending that money, just because of the Connect Oregon agreement. What's to say that Salem just doesn't decide, we want to run that? Well, we wouldn't have the money if we spend it. So we were waiting for that to get resolved, the discussion between the Port and the county court, which hadn't happened, just to try to figure out, is there still a debt looming over top of that project, and those dollars that are sitting.
And if you really take a look at the agreement, this is a county and a port that applied together for the Connect Oregon grant of $1.9 million. And our concern was making sure that that didn't get a callback. Most of the work that I did, I'm pretty well sure, or have been sure, that we're not going to ask for it back. But again, we still have this little bit of concern that we would be out there spending money on something that you guys were just responsible for. If there was a payback, obviously you were going to have to be the one to.
Right.
So, and this is, kind of climbing up, piggybacking on what we had to say there. It was a
So I'm clear, then it sounds like that congressional earmark, aside from what you had to spend to pull the stuff out of the river, that is still sitting in the account. Is that not the case?
Yeah. So that's okay.
And so just how much was the earmark? And, because I know, Ron, you and I talked, and I think you ended up getting less than what originally was earmarked, but how much was it and how much was it to pull out of the river?
So, just a couple of things. One, the Connect Org and the support of the county courts, they were not a signatory on the Connect Org agreement. It was a court, so you're not on the.
I'm just reading what was on there.
Yeah, since they
But
were pulled out.
the whole project, we were all tied together with the actual document for the grant from Connect Org or the county court. We got a congressional earmark for about 3.2 million that was supposed to cover the cost of the bridge, road work, and the conduct. And when all was said and done, they were only reimbursed for funds that were expended after the earmark or the permit was granted. So we ended up with, it was like $1,040,000. And of that, we spent about, I want to say 100,000 or so, putting the road down to the quarry floor. And the Or did reimburse us for the pulling piles. And that was like a $260,000. So, and then we used some of those funds to build the flexible.
So how,
There's about 800,000 sitting in the water.
So there's that where, this is the part that confuses me most about the IGAs, and you've been doing this a while. But, and I've been talking to Drew, trying to figure this rock sale deal out, how it's supposed to work. So county was supposed to crush 75,000 yards of rock. And then you need to crush another 25,000 yards to be used with that project with the stuff that we improvements we made. Doing it in total, going to crush about 25,000 yards. So the question always is, how can we sell something that the county is going to crush, never going to crush? And I have talked to the attorney, and I know where they are with it. So you know, it to me, it's like, this year blew up everywhere.
it did, but it was the county's funds, the board didn't put funds in, right? So the county was trying to be whole. I could, if we had all put in the same amount of money and the whole thing blew up, this would be a different conversation. But from my perspective, the court received an earmark to try to make the parties whole. That money, rather than going to the people who funded the project, is still sitting in a court account, which is okay if we can agree on how that money is spent. I'm not saying it needs to come back to the county, but what I'm saying is, in order to make the county whole, that congressional earmark needs to be spent on something that makes us, the county, whole.
Does the county have a project in mind?
I think, I don't know that I have one. I
You know, I think about, we got figures talking to the dealership. And the reality is, and we don't know anything about where that's going to happen. But that $800,000 would be done pretty quick
yeah.
on that one project. And you know, support willing to start with that project, those kind of things, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think if again, if we can have an open line of communication about some of the things that you're looking at and what seems most likely, then it's as simple, the three of us meeting and saying, yes, that seems like that's a benefit to the county, and we're comfortable with saying that would then meet our needs in terms of writing off that debt, basically. But, and that's sort of the perspective I'm coming from is, I know this whole thing blew up for everybody, but it's the county's funds that were lost in it. And I just want to make sure that that congressional earmark that comes in, we don't need them, as you all know, we don't need you to cut us a check. That's not what we're asking for, but I need to be able to wrap up that IGA and say that the debt is paid. And to me, if you guys have a project that you think that money can be used for, then let's have a discussion about that project. And if the court's on board, I'm okay with saying, okay, put that money towards that project and let's have the attorneys wrap up the IGA.
So let's say there's no project there, no credit. We know there's some out there, we don't know what that will be. What do we have to do with the county side to satisfy that?
I mean, I don't think, I'm okay.
Without a project, never saying about a project on the table to move forward.
I'm okay with that money sitting in an account while we're figuring out what the project should be. I would prefer that if you guys are going to spend the money that should have come out to the county, that we have the conversation first about what you're looking at. Particularly since some of these projects, to be honest, aren't you going to come ask us for some money anyway, probably? It's that big of a project, you're probably going to be coming and talking to us. So it makes some sense to let us in at the beginning of this and not at the end when we need the money. So, I mean, it sounds like we might not be that far apart.
So just as where we're at on the earlier thing today, our meeting members comfortable with them using $200,000 of that money to purchase this building.
Good question. I'm hesitant about it, I'll be honest, because I feel like the county has already paid for the building once, and I'm not exactly comfortable then having us pay for it a second time. I think some taxpayers are going to question why the county doesn't just let it go into foreclosure and take it. It would save you guys $200,000, and realistically, I think we'll have taxpayers who are asking why the county paid for it twice. And that's a legit question. So I'm not sure that I personally at this point feel comfortable. I think I would want to get some more feedback from the community on it, because I do think that that is what we will likely hear, is why did the county pay for it twice?
Is that worse than letting it go to bid?
Well, we're like, because the county did it back, because the county possesses it. We're the ones that are the county.
But if there is someone at a cash offer that will come and pay them $200,000 and they take it, it's private party, then we all lost.
And you start getting taxed, still taxable.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my point is, the county, previous court invested a considerable amount of money in the building. And it is not unreasonable for the public to say, why wouldn't you just let that go into foreclosure on the tax side? The county can retain it without spending a penny of additional tax money. That's not unreasonable. I'm not saying if you guys decide to buy it, but I'm not sure that from the county's perspective, it makes sense to pay for it twice. I think that's a hard sell to the public. Even though they like the building, I think it will not make sense to people that we are buying it to keep it out of foreclosure where it would revert back to the county owning it. That's my 2 cents on it. I don't, Sharon may feel differently, she's in this community, so she may feel differently about it, but I think that's what we're gonna hear from the public. Why did you buy the building twice?
So where is it that you come up with that you will be buying it twice?
Well, how much of the county have invested in the building
Right.
now? One point
1.9
$9 million.
So,
If we purchase it for $200,000, why would that be county money?
because I think we're talking about writing off the debt that would be coming to the county. in exchange for you buying the building.
Okay.
So that would be us giving up.
So I guess really it's getting a better understanding of where the county's money went at the time that, and I never did find $1 million check that was written before. Maybe you guys found a check that was $1 million. I never did. I just.
So decided, are you back to the IGA now?
Yeah, back in the IGA and saying, okay, there's $1 million here. I'm trying to figure out, okay, was it $1 million check that went to the court?
Well, the IGA says 750,000, but the project never got completed. And so,
But yeah, basically it says that it's $1 million that they gave to us.
$400 some thousand, I think, the county paid originally. And which to me, like, they got a grant for $370,000 back from West Nile.
Waste management. That went to the county.
It went to the county.
Right. And that was part of $1 million that come over. But what I never did see, and maybe again, and I looked into this pretty extensively, but I never did see where there was $1 million that they gave to the county. What I did see was a bridge was built. So the county did spend money on that. Again, as you know, a port commissioner, if we knew what we
You have to take the in-kind money to come up with that.
Yeah.
I understand.
So I guess, with that in-kind, we all kind of lost in this thing. There's no doubt about it. What I'm hearing from you, is that all of this money that came back on is definitely yours, and I'm trying to say that no, there's a big portion of it that's connected to Oregon that really the port was responsible for. I know that the city agreement, it's the two. What that would be, that's what I kept understanding what her, for lack of a better way of saying it, is how does it get split all out? Some of it definitely has to, it's part of, 2/3 of the money that is spent comes from a Connect Oregon.
And I understand, how much did the port put in? Of its own money that was not, because again.
Well, again, it was in-kind work that was done. The port was the one who, it was staffing, all of these things were involved in getting this whole thing put together.
Right, but my point is, there's $800,000 left over of that congressional earmark. I have to think that when Mike went to that to go get it, the idea was that the parties who had made investments were going to be somewhat made whole. And I think what we're suggesting is we could be made whole by finding a project that we mutually agree on. We're not asking you to give us that money, but there's an IGA that says that the port would pay back in essence $750,000. And so we're just trying to resolve that piece, assuming that when you guys got the congressional earmark, that was the intent behind it, was
So the first project that we have teed up is this building. That one's right here now, it's in front of us. We have several other projects that are in the works, and, we're working. We're not ready yet to bring. We've let 2 feasibility study cost analysis, and as soon as those come back and the clients are able to run the numbers, we'll see. One of them's for a 14,000 square foot facility, the other one's for 38,000 square foot. They're both going to cost a lot. And so those are 2 projects that are in the works. Clearly, that's we get pretty well through the engineering, maybe not, with that kind of money, but that's about it. And then that becomes a challenge. But both of them bring, the one project is 30 jobs plus production work and 5, 6 staff, and the other one is probably 3 to 5 production jobs and a couple of management staff. So, that's what's in the queue right now. We've got a few others that are feelers out there, if those are the most, that are more substantive. You know, and I'm talking to our new tenant up there, they're just getting settled in and already looking, that they could need more space, so. That can easily consume that, doubling that space. I mean, that's been one of the real challenges, in Arlington, you know, a lot of people don't think about it. It happened a long time ago, but the relocation of the town, we lost a lot of space, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of commercial buildings. And we're slowly building it back, and the interstate came in, so the whole economics, paradigm changed, but we have a need for industrial space here, we have a need for commercial space. The airport runways, another project. For the second time, we won we were a winner of the grant award, made it through the state level. One was regional solutions. This time was, I can't remember, it was another aviation grant that came out. We won, but then they didn't have enough money, so we didn't get funded. So, but there's another project. Paving the runway is $1.5 million for the municipal airport out here. They did huge for the big park.
That belongs to the city, doesn't it?
It does belong to the city, but the port owns 13 acres right on the runway. And so we've been collaborating out, you know, the staff, we've been able to, you know, work with the engineers and keep the project going and apply for the grants as they come available and stuff, but it's totally a city project, but, you know, it opens up a lot of new opportunities for beyond airport, beyond runway, hangar space, stuff like that.
President Wilson, would you entertain a question from the public?
Sure.
Before you guys get too far along the road, I just want to back up a bit, make sure I had the correct understanding. Commissioner Kennedy was talking about the worry, I guess would be the word to use, the state asking for a payback. Is it the Connect Oregon grant that is involved in? Okay, if that's accurate, Peter, has there been any effort on the port's part to secure a hold harmless satisfaction or some sort of whatever the legal terminology is from the state, from Business Oregon or ODOT along those lines, so that you don't have that worry in play? Is that, if you freed up, I guess what I'm asking is, if you freed up that worry, where would that put the two jurisdictions in terms of being able to talk a little bit easier about things?
Part of the challenge, and Judge might know, because he was involved in it quite a bit, but the Port did receive a letter from Department of Transportation that they were not going to pursue getting the funds back at this time. And that's kind of where it's been left.
So how long ago was that? And then my question is, have you made any effort, has the port made any effort since to take that further?
That's as far as, you know, we've gone.
I had a letter last night, it was sometime in the middle part of, I think, around 2017. Well, I know that Representative John Hutland was still, Rick Smith was involved with it, Senator Hansel, I can't remember the name of the director of the Department of Transportation. But yeah, the one thing that I asked was some sort of document, some sort of letter that would come to the court freeing them up. I'm pretty sure that it was during a long session, so it would have been on here, and I think it was 2017.
President Wilson, if I may, and I guess what I'm trying to find out in my own mind is whether or not resolving that worry would help with easing the overall situation here, being able to agree Area am I off base? I might be off base, just get one of the three guys happen.
That's just my communication with the court, is doing his program, if he was up there today, that was a concern. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much. I felt pretty comfortable with the time that the Department of Transportation, but came to the board.
Well, if I may, President Wilson, I guess just not, that sort of end with my question is, given that might not really be in play here, then the only thing that it comes down to right now in terms of everybody being somewhat on the same page is whether or not the use of dollars that remain, a portion of that would go to like the $200,000 expenditure of buying this building, or whether it would go to something that the both jurisdictions can look more favorably upon, say, happening on the south end of the county instead of down here. Is that, am I somewhat on track here? I'm just trying to understand a little bit better than perhaps you guys think I didn't understand, because I don't sometimes understand it all.
Well, I think you're close. Not necessarily all that go to the south side of the county, something, is what I said. Just that I would like to see something on that side of the county with those fundings.
By the way, the director's name is Matt Gear, and he's now a state wildfire consultant to the government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the $200,000 that you that you voted to purchase this building, if it didn't come from this money, where was it coming from? Do you have that money besides this?
Well, they have to reconsider, because that's kind of what we were talking about.
Okay.
So, we may have to not do something we were intending to do.
I guess, getting to that point, and here's, again, this was a $3 million project. The county had $1 million into it, supposedly. I'm still trying to figure out whether there was an actual $1 million that was put into it, but that's neither here nor there. There was 1.9 million, 2 million that come from Connect Oregon. If we got, if we got 1.5 back, your portion of it is 500,000, ours is $1 million. Are you following where I'm going with this, my perspective?
Well,
No.
if the court, Connect Oregon would be in million.
No, Connect Oregon is 1.9.
But what, I guess I don't follow, if the court didn't put any money, why would the court be getting money back?
It's what we worked really hard to get the weighting of the Connect Oregon grant.
I don't think I'm following you.
So
Help me understand, so if you got 1.5 million back, 500 would come to the county.
For 1/3 investment.
With the court having zero investment, why would you get the other 2/3? Why wouldn't that go back to the state who made the investment?
That's exactly what we battled for. That's how we had the conversations with the Connect Oregon, the Department of Transportation, Business Oregon, and legislators.
Right, but you guys just told us that you didn't think that was a concern that it would go
What I'm
back.
saying is that you want to have a full say in the entire $800,000 that is there. And whether we could spend it, how we're gonna spend it. And I'm saying, no, I don't want to give you total control of how this entire $800,000 is spent. You can have control of 5,000, but I don't think it's 1.5 million. That's the entire plan. That, how we're gonna make guidance there.
We got 30 cents on top.
I get that, but I guess what I'm looking at is there's an IGA that's sitting out there that had a commitment of 750.
But
And
to be
so,
clear, the terms of that, the payment, it's a long-term game. was out of, tonnage coming over a dock that never was able to be built. And the second way that those funds would be paid back was from the county crushing rock and rock out of that port.
And I understand that,
And
but
neither one of those happened, and that's exactly how those funds were gonna be paid back from activities at Willow.
help me understand though, how when the court receives a congressional earmark to make the parties whole,
It wasn't,
even though it's not, I know, they're not quite done. So to make the parties whole, why wouldn't we then try to make the county whole for that investment that we made? Why would we only get a third? If the court doesn't need to be made whole, and the county actually has skin in the game, why wouldn't the county be made whole?
So what do you think the skin of the game is? That's where I get confused and lost in this. Because if the county put in 400,000 and they got 372,000 from waste management, that's a net of 40,000. The rest of it is in-kind, and most of it didn't happen.
So, but why does IGA say that the parties agree that the court shall reimburse the county for $750,000? What was the $750,000 for then?
So, yeah, no, there's a reimbursement in there, so there was another.
They're being reimbursed for something.
It was all based on,
No, well, that,
I know.
yeah, so why does it agree?
I just don't see that the county got more than about $40,000 in cash, and they got some in-kind, which I don't know if we can quantify that the county road department put in. I don't know what the rest of it is. Maybe there's some permitting fees and stuff that they did, I don't know, because we talked to some of that, but I don't know what that in-kind dollar amount is to ever get to $1 million. Let's see what they ever got $1 million.
I mean, part of that sharing is, you know, the county was gonna, you know, put electrical lines, lighting, all kinds of things, to develop a wastewater system. There's a whole lot of things that were involved with getting this put together, which all died.
Which were part of the
This piece of paper doesn't say anything about that. All it says is that the court agrees that they owe the county $750,000. So, are there any financial records that show it?
Everything was,
I got that.
You have that?
Show me, sure, it was very good.
yeah.
But that's all right there, but we said.
Not that I don't have the papers, I just don't understand what that means then.
I mean,
I said, really?
Now you're gonna get to understand a little bit why this whole thing is, you know, 2 years, 3 years.
Because Laura Prior, everywhere?
Well, that's my question is, obviously the court under Laura
Others.
thought that,
All this was gonna fall into place.
no,
Yeah,
thought that the court should be, or the county should be reimbursed. I mean, it's an interesting phrase that they use in there. Reimbursed typically is not, hey, we're gonna pay you, usually that's recouping costs that the county put in. So I'm not really clear why Judge Pryor would have signed something that included the words reimbursed if the county hadn't outlaid those funds.
I don't think that happens.
Yeah, if there are any financial records from the county.
I mean, there was no extension of electrical lines for $160,000.
Again, I was never able to find where there was a point for $1 million check at the end of the port and this project. So maybe you guys could find that. There was a lot of there, you know, there was some intentions. There was some intentions of, you know, some of this coming together. The only thing that I really could see that separate was the bridge being built. And I, you know, don't know what the entire cost of it was. I just know this, is that I don't think the port would build a bridge, or even the county for that matter, had this project, had they known at the time that this project was going to be built up.
The project evolved over about a year and a half prior to anything we did. we went down, we did multiple looks at the project and stuff. The port of Willow was completely different at the time. We didn't have a port director, it was just a port board.
And no kitchen.
Huh?
And no kitchen?
No, not the kitchen, it was, Gilliam was, he was a consultant.
Yeah.
He was the one who was doing everything for us. I wasn't on the board at the time. I was directed by the county court to build a somewhat temporary road into where the new bridge was gonna go, so the contractors could access that. We did that, we got permission from Union Pacific Railroad, which we had to buy I can't remember how many $1 million bond, so that we could get our equipment across the railroad tracks down into the quarry to access what we had to do there, because we had to go down the rail, and then there was an old trail that got us back up on top on the other side. It was for the real power that used to get there, and there was some navigation lights and stuff. We went down there, we did everything we could, they built the bridge, and once the bridge was done, then we built the road from the old highway to the new bridge, and from the new bridge down to where the excavation was supposed to start for the new road. We surveyed that all out, we drilled, we blasted, and we actually brought the rock pressure down, we brought it across the bridge, and we had a road that would get us down into the bottom. Started crushing rock. At the same time, they started barging in the dock material. Started putting the dock in, we were crushing rock. The rock we were producing, we were supposed to produce all the rock for the next wind farm. That was the goal, because we produced all the rock for the previous wind farm, which the engineers spec a 3/4 to 1/2 inch rock. Well, things evolved in engineering or whatever. That's when we had 14,000 yards of contact at a 3/4 to 1/2. Well, they switched and went to 1.5 to inch rock. Everything, all the parts just really fell into place right there at the same time. Things were changing engineering wise on the wind farms, and that's when the dock was almost completed and the tribe showed up. Things just came to a screeching halt. We only had about 25,000 yards of material crushed. We had everything crushed for the march shop. We did that first. So it was all stockpiled up there. Then we started making the contact, and we were trying to work our way up with the new access road out. Once the tribe shut us down, it basically shut the entire project down. And I just couldn't leave the county pressure sitting there either. I had other projects, other things we had to do. So I said, okay, let's pull out. So we pulled out, we blocked the entrance into the quarry and left. And then that's when, after the Corps did what they did, we pulled the pile, we actually had to build the road so they could get in and out to access that. That's kind of the history that the county has into it. The rock that was supposed to be reproduced never was. Everything was growing and lasting, but we never excavated a quarter of it.
And the project was started as a county project, and then it evolved.
Yes, it started
And that's the first big project for the whole district, so.
Yeah, all our direction is from the county court on which way to go. And what speed to go.
I guess in that shows, there's the impact of what you're saying. That's what it was.
And that's all.
Yeah, all of that's the carry out.
Yeah, every bit of the road department, that's what the county's road department investment in is all time cards. We have, that's every bit of that.
President Wilson, may I ask you another question?
Okay, what is it?
As far as the Connect Oregon situation, was it a record of all of that as part of the,
It's still piled in there. That's the dock. The dock, the pilings,
no, I'm sorry, Commissioner, what I'm talking about is the, sort of getting to what Judge, was talking about a little earlier, they're asking about, in terms of a paper trail or documentation of the Connect Oregon grant. Wasn't there some reporting requirements that are involved here that would reflect some of what you were asking about, or am I?
Yeah, the financials, like,
Where was
I've never
that?
seen any financials that show,
Cause
the
I
IGAs, but we don't have any financials that show where any of the money went or how it went. Or
There's been no system set up between the county and the board that I'm aware of that tracks any of that 750, whether it was up to that amount or less than that amount, any of the payback, none of
That's not what I'm asking.
that's.
What I'm asking is, you got, the grant was 1.9 million. Are there financials that show
Oh,
where the money went?
yeah, absolutely.
So, Commissioner, it was a reimbursable grant, the board didn't have the money, so the county was fronting that to. And then, of course, for the money come from the for connected grant, then they sent that to the county. So I know it was kind of
Wow.
yeah. So the board will keep we'll get money from the county, get the work done. Money will come back and the board will pay the county. And there are trails of a lot of it. What I can never find is, and really, we've been talking about $750,000. We won't be talking territories, won't be right around 200.
went all the way.
I know, it's a mess.
So
And I guess where I mean, we would like to go ahead and rock this building. Actually, now, I don't speak to that, having asked you permission to be able to do that. And I'm just saying that, this money will keep back. I don't think it's all yours, that we would have to say, give your permission.
So how about this as a compromise? You said earlier that out of the 1.5, you thought 500
Well, I
could
just,
be,
yeah, I just do.
I think that no, I think this is a starting point. So clearly you have 800,000 left over. You'd like to put 200,000 towards the building, which I expressed I have some heartburn over. So what if the county, and I'm obviously not going to respond to their commissioner, but what if the county said, rather than the 750 repayment that's in the IGA, we would do 600. And have that go toward a project that both parties mutually agree upon. That would leave 200,000 for you to buy this building if you so choose to do so. So we're not standing in the way of doing that. And allow us for the other 600,000 to figure out a project that both parties can agree upon.
they could bring it to us.
Exactly. So it's slightly above what you said, I know. but I'm meeting you halfway, right? So I'm not insisting on the 750, 800, whatever. You threw out 500, 600 is kind of a little bit closer. Would that be?
You're missing my point.
No, I got your point, but what I'm trying to get to is an agreement that we could both agree on.
So
And
we can
so,
run the IGA, I want to move forward.
right, so we would have our attorneys rewrite that IGA. So that was clear the 750 debt, get it off the books, so there's no question on is the Port O or not O. And your 200,000 you can use to buy the building and do what you like, and then the other 600 sits in your account until we come up with a project that both sides think sounds like a good plan.
I'm gonna try this differently, okay?
So maybe I could just,
Okay, I'll let you do it.
so according to the IGAs, it has to be a written agreement between the two, governing bodies, to change it. So what we'd be looking with a new IGA, if you will, is to dissolve the existing two on Willow Creek and basically dissolve any of your, I hate to use the term interest because we both have the same people, but you know, the Willow Creek becomes not on your radar, let's say, directly. And that you'll instruct the attorneys that we will agree to spend 600,000 of this Willow Creek money on one project that we agree jointly, whatever, to the attorney.
Correct. And that was the other 200,000, that we're not standing in the way of buying the building, because, I mean, double check the numbers, but there's still 800,000 left, because I don't want to short you if you want to buy it. But in that way, you're able to still buy the building, we're not standing in the way of that.
Of course, we, you know, obviously, I think the court commission would like that you're buying with this, because it, you know, the county has invested a lot of money in doing that. And, you know, we hate really not to, but anyway.
The one thing we do get out of it, if they buy it, is you do at least get 73,000. If it went into foreclosure. We get that, where people went into foreclosure.
Who's paying $76,500?
That's what this money is for, is to pay.
That's what will go through the title company, that to pay it through the.
And they racked up a bunch of bills, and, you know, with COVID and rent, and because, you know, even though they were 501c3, and they would have been eligible for some of the county grants, you know, with them being behind on their tax bill, they didn't qualify, so, you know, it just snowballs, when you get behind on things, so, this helps catch them up, and it puts them in good shape carrying forward on the senior living facility that they own, and you know, because they've had to dip to that account to pay for some of the things here too, so. You know, it's not as bad as it sounds.
So would that be something the court commission, the commissioners would entertain?
Oh, yeah, we could, take it up at the next board meeting and discuss it. I think it's a starting place. And
Well, we haven't made that agreement quite yet either,
Right.
we're just talking, so we need to, we need to have that kind of discussion in a meeting as well.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good place to start.
And obviously, when legal counsel gets involved, it'll kind of change things up, and both bodies would need to see the language on that. So, it's always in the details that things get interesting, but,
Or not, or no details, or just what these two items.
yeah, well, there's some non-line. But,
There's not a whole lot of tracking with it.
No,
I mean, I think,
very
you know,
poorly done.
the two principal covenants there, I think we agree on, right? You know, to dissolve the Willow Creek IGAs, and that those funds would be spent on a joint project, $600 million. Right? Everybody's nodding their head. Yay. Good. It'd be nice to get it resolved, and I think we do have some projects in the port, you know, we'll bring up and have it before you pretty soon.
President Wilson, Jim Campbell, as one that's followed this for a while, we really encourage you not to let either of your two jurisdictions, change the outcome of what the consensus that you've reached here today, simply because of a fine detail or two that the county attorneys know that really might come up with. I think you owe it to the community to go forward as we talked about this afternoon. And I'd like to commend you for, coming up with what it's taken to be here today, all of you. I think that really shows the community that there is a spirit of goodwill and working together that still is alive and well in Gilliam County. Thank you for letting me have a say or two.
We appreciate your.
Yeah, thanks for, getting together with Port Commission, it's great to get you to the same room.
Yeah, so in terms of next steps, we'll be meeting next week, so Commissioners, I can have Teresa put that on the agenda for us to formally discuss it.
Sooner the better.
And then we'll just maybe plan on calling with you all after your next meeting to see if this is still something that, a framework that we can start to have the attorneys begin on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We meet on soon.
Yeah, so I mean, comes right up. If you guys officially agree to do that, then, Port Board meets, and then we can get the legals together. Have a draft document. And that, so it's something soon.
So when we're talking about this, just for the sake of the accusation, are we just arbitrarily saying that 80,000?
Pretty much.
600,000.
Well, it's 80,000, 200, your portion you get to keep, 600,000, the county's involved in it. And that's what we're looking at.
That's what I was looking at, but I do, if you guys go back and look at your numbers and that 800 is actually less than,
Just-
or if it's more, whatever, but I think, my point was, I understand and I can sense the frustration, from Steve about us getting in the way of the building, because it sounds like that's something you want to do, and I don't, if you guys want to do that, I don't want to stand in the way, so.
I think that there's a possibility, you hear it from some taxpayers, like to say about paying for it twice, but I also think there's a lot more about city, not too much for
Yeah.
more.
Well, yeah,
That is really a concern.
we don't want to manage it, so you guys go ahead.
But my point being, Peter, if you go and look at the numbers and you have 750 in that account, I picked 600 just for simple math that you gave, but if we need to wiggle on that number based on what's left, I'm open to that, but I think we need to have the conversation about that first.
I think the reality of it is, any of these if we bring forward a project to you, we're gonna need a lot more than 600. So it's,
Well, at least the project we're working on.
the number 600 is fine. But just so that when you go to the court meetings, you look down. Kelly's pretty accurate on this thing, but she says there's 800.
You only have a huge opportunity right now. One was filling up. Google and all that stuff's taking up all their space. And people are looking for open ground. We're the only ones that have open ground, we've got freeway access, we're making the improvements that they want. So I think, it's gonna take some time, but they're gonna come.
What are we gonna do about our housing issue?
I don't know. That's gonna be, that's been an issue for years.
Maybe it's not just us.
No, it's everything. And, now there's material shortages. So lumber prices are high, so housing can be more expensive. So it's,
I heard last thing with $30 a sheet.
yeah. So,
Crazy.
yeah.
I know there's a lot of projects in the Dallas that are just
Yeah.
stopped.
There's-
Getting into housing is a little bit away from this conversation, but I will say the county's investment in Pioneer and that housing program, it is working. We're getting a lot of houses built in the community. If you go up and look at the upper subdivision, they're plunking in, the Pioneer's got their footprints all over that. In Condon, they have the footprints all down there, or up there as well. A lot of lots have been cleared off, and so they're able to put houses on it. So the program is working, and if we get a big project like any of those that we're talking about, the infrastructure's in place to make something happen. We have builders in the community. That was the whole thing with the housing, that it was a local market-based deal. We have contractors in the community that can be activated to build apartment or townhouses or even single-family homes if we have a big need and demand, bigger need and demand. But they're chunking them in about as fast as China Creek and some of the contractors, they're all really busy right now building houses. So it's a program that's working and working really well.
Thank you all for.
Thank you.
For talking.
Hearing that.
Intergovernmental.